Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors, where we help you decode the craft and business of writing. In this episode, we're going to talk about the one thing you should really try to avoid when drafting your novel.
Writers do something that most other people don't do when they're doing their job, which is that we critique our own work in the middle of the job. Not when we're done, but right in the middle of it. Imagine if someone's building a block wall and they put the mud down there and they put a block down there, then they put down a second block and then they go, oh, it's a millimeter off. And then they take the block and move it away and scrape all the mud off and throw it away and redo it and redo it and redo it. Instead, what they really do is they build this wall that is really nice, but is imperfect. Like it could be off by a 1/16 of an inch here or there. And then when they get done, they go over that and they plaster it. And then, they put on a rough coat and then a skim coat and then a, final coat. And they make this nice plaster block wall when it's all done. But the very first steps aren't perfect and they don't really worry about perfection. They just worry about getting it down and getting it good. They don't worry about making it perfect. So that's one of those things we want to keep in mind when we're drafting.
Which leads us to the crippling thought that we have to be perfect, that it has to come out and be like wonderful. That's just not the way that a book is created. It starts really messy and you work toward the perfection, but it's not something that's going to come out right at first.
So this is a cliche, but it's super true. And you just kind of keep this in mind, is that you cannot edit a blank page. And it sounds obvious and it sounds stupid, but it's really true. You can take almost anything and edit it into something good if you have just the basic words to start with, or just kind of the basic framework. You're just looking for a skeleton, a structure, a framework upon which to kind of hang your more detailed ideas. But you have to have something down before you can make it good. So you get something, then you get good, then you get better, then you get, probably the best you can do. But you have to start with something that's not going to be perfect, but it gives you something that you can elaborate on later. So if you sit there and try to make the very first things you write perfect, you will be kind of frozen there forever.
Yeah. So the truth is, I revise my work a lot. I will write a chapter and then I will revise it. I'll write the next chapter. I'll revise 1 and 2. I'll write the third chapter. I'll revise 1, 2, and 3. So I have this kind of cyclical flow through of revision as I create the pages of my novel. By the time I get to the end of it, then I go through and I work on it more and more and more and more. I mean, I probably revise my novel a good overall 20 times before I submit it to my editor. And then, of course, you submit the very best work that you think you can do. And it turns out you get an editorial letter and you get a bunch of notes about how you can make it better. And it's really deflating. You have a lot of cake, as we've mentioned before, and then you get to work on revising it again and revising it again and revising it again. And then the copy editor weighs in and you revise it again and you revise it again. And so it's an ongoing process. Even when you think you've got it perfect, there's always going to be room for improvement. I find it really hard to read my own novels once they've been published because my mind is still in the editing. It's like, oh, I could have said this a little better. Oh, I could have done this a little differently. So it's one of those things, it is not going to be perfect the first time you get through your novel. And if you just get that in your mind, that, the end of the novel is really the starting line of the next phase of the book, then you won't have all these expectations and you won't put all this on your shoulders for trying to make it perfect the first time through.
It could be a mistake to compare your work, especially your early drafts, to a book that is on the shelves at Barnes & Noble, because that book has been through this entire process Wendelin just talked about, with the author and then with the editor and then with the copy editor, or maybe 2 copy editors. And, by the time it's down there on the shelf at your local bookstore, it's really clean, really solid. And your first efforts are not probably going to be that clean. And that's okay, because as they say, comparison is the thief of joy. So don't compare your rough draft to a New York Times bestseller that has had many eyes on it for many, many months. That's just going to make you feel bad. Your job is to create this imperfect draft and not really think beyond that.
So you probably figured out that the one thing that we suggest that you don't do while drafting your novel is to overthink it while you're drafting. Instead, get an idea, get it down, and then make it good.
So that's it for this week. We hope you got something useful out of this. And if you like what we're doing here, please like, share,
and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
If you have content that you'd like us to cover, by all means, leave those in the comments. Thanks as always for stopping in to have a quick break with us. We hope you'll come back, see us again. In the meantime, remember, dream big, work hard, don't give up.
And keep drafting.
Yeah.
Look at this piece of hair right there.
The other one sticking out, all of them.
Wait.
That's my hair.